Welcome back to the Shakeout Podcast, where we bring you deep dives with Canada's top endurance athletes. Later on in the show, I'll sit down with one of Canada's rising stars on the ultra trail scene, Emilie Mann, fresh off a podium performance at the Desert Rats 100K in Moab. She'll share about her rapid upward trajectory in races 100K and beyond, and what it's like being part of the current wave of Canadian trail athletes making a big splash on the international scene. But first, with the 2025 Boston Marathon now in our rearview mirror, I knew we couldn't miss the opportunity to debrief a race for the record books. Last week on the Shakeout Podcast, I caught up with Rory Linkletter, the top Canadian entrant in this year's Boston's elite field. In the lead up to Boston, Rory shared with us his hopes of capitalizing on a level of fitness he'd never before experienced, putting to rest his Boston demons from a disastrous debut there in 2021, and proving to himself and the world that he can mix it up with the best of the best. Well, after what transpired this Patriots Day between Hopkinton and Boston, it's safe to say that what he accomplished was all that and more. Committing to a blistering early pace and coming away with a new personal best of 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 2 seconds. Good for 6th overall, the fastest time by a Canadian ever at Boston, and the second fastest Canadian male performance of all time. Fresh off the performance of his life, Rory rejoins the show to give us his reactions to a race that Canadians are not likely to forget anytime soon. This is the Shakeout Podcast. First of all, I am just so stoked for you. How are you feeling?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm sore. But I'm obviously excited and happy and all the good things too. So yeah, it was the hardest marathon ever in some ways, but also like the best in other ways. Like it's hard. It was
Yeah.
hard.
Oh, no doubt about it. You swung for the fences. When we
Yeah.
talked last week, you talked about how, eventually being in the top 10 at a major was a big goal for you. And that was pretty evident that that was your intention from the gun. Watching it yesterday, I was like, oh man, Rory's out at the front. When we hit halfway, you're still leading. And you never really looked back. I think the lowest you ever dropped was 11th in that race, around 25K. And then you just rallied hard and guys started dropping off. What made this one click so much more than, not that other races haven't clicked for you, but I don't know, you hung in the back half of Boston, which 90% of Boston finishers are not able to do.
Yeah, I think like A, I was the fittest I've ever been, but B, I got a lot of confidence out of like the work I put in, and I kind of just like trusted that I knew how to not die in a marathon because I have gotten good at preserving my legs and surviving. So I was obviously pretty afraid at halfway coming through as fast as we did.
Yeah,
I
sub
didn't think
62
it,
minutes for our
yeah,
listeners.
yeah. For like I never in my wildest dreams did I think I was gonna go through that fast and live to tell the tale. But like I told myself pretty early, and I've been on record saying this in a few conversations or interviews or whatnot. I literally kept repeating this to myself: if you're gonna be stupid, you better be tough. And I would just knew I had to be tough, and I was amazed with how much longer my body could continue to run at what felt like its last like little bit of energy, or like my legs were just so fried by like Heartbreak Hill in the back 10K of the course, and I was like, man, who knows? And it just kept plugging along and finding more life.
I was feverishly refreshing the splits more often than there were splits to refresh, just adding to my anxiety. And every time I was thinking, oh man, he's on a good pace. If he can, even if he blows up at 30K, like 30K at this pace is phenomenal. And then, okay, 35K. And then it wasn't until around, I guess, what would it be, the 24, the 25 mile split, because they start giving you individual mile splits on the live tracking. And it was like, holy smokes, he's still on, and guys are dropping off behind him. And at that point, it was no longer like, well, he's made it this far, whatever happens, it's still already a success. Then it was like, holy smokes, he's going to race it to the line. Like, let's go here. Was that your mindset at all? Like, in the end, I know that you were battling it out with Clayton those last couple of miles. Was there a point where you kind of saw the light at the end of the tunnel and realized I'm on for a good one here?
Yeah, so I think the race was kind of divided into a few sections for me in my experience. Like the first 25K, actually pretty much all the way through 30K, it was like stay with the group and enjoy the ride. Like you're in it, like just compete. And I found myself in the back of the group, the front of the group, this or that, and kind of just riding the waves as they came. And it was hard for some stretches, easy for others, and just really thoroughly enjoyed the atmosphere. Like being in the lead pack at Boston that deep was like really cool.
Yeah.
And then once I got dropped around mile 19, right before 32K, give or take, going into heartbreak pretty much, I was like, okay, now it's like self-preservation and like holding it together, because you have to know people are probably coming for you. Like I had no idea what was happening behind me, and I knew I was already in a good place, and I was like, hey, like I'm still in it, right? So like just keep moving forward, focus on maintaining like decent form and eyes up the road. And yeah, I think I realized I was going to be top 10 at like 35K. I was like, hey, probably going to be top 10 no matter what, because I think I was in 10th at that point. We had passed Evans Trebet right around then. And then I could see 3 runners, maybe 4 runners up the road, like single file, like one after another kind of thing. For the whole last stretch of Boston's like a straight line you can see for a while. And so I just kept my eyes up and tried to keep people within arm's reach. And at no point was I like, oh, I'm gonna catch these guys. But then like the gaps became like small enough that I was like, okay, maybe. And once I got to the sit go sign, which is like the famous 1 mile to go spot in Boston, I realized like I was no longer in a preservation mode, and I was able to turn back into racer. And I feel like I got really competitive once I had a mile to go, and I immediately, once I flipped that switch in my head, I closed the gap on Clayton and Tabello, who were in at that point 6th and 7th, and we had just passed Daniel Mateko like right before that, who was fading off the front, and we had passed Pat Tiernan a few miles before that. Anyways, this is all happening in the last couple miles, and I made like a strong move to the front of that group of what ended up being 3 people on the right hand turn on Hereford, me, Tabello, and Clayton. And the crowds are just absolutely bonkers at that point. And I was like, okay, like now it's like everything's on the line: prize money, finishing place. I had no idea if I was in 6th, 7th, 8th. I knew I was in the top 10, but I didn't. You never know what happened in front of you, right? So it was kind of like just chaos. And I was like, well, I got to run for every spot. And it became clear it was going to be me versus Clayton on Boylston. And I took that left on Boylston, uh, I just kind of like became like so competitive. Like it was like this. I was no longer hurt. It was just like a matter of like what else can I do? What else? How much power can I put into the ground? And I looked over at Clayton and was like, he said, I said, let's tango. I might have said that. Honestly, it was like so like
If you did, great line. I
I
would just own
it
that
was
line.
either let's tango or let's go. It was one of the two. And I know I was ready for a battle with him, and I knew he wasn't going to let me go because he had stuck to my back when I passed him. Uh, so we went the whole Boylston stretch kind of like matching moves. And it wasn't till we hit 400 to go that I was like, okay, I've got this. Like, because
Yeah.
I knew I had one more gear and I had him on the ropes. And so I just kind of put like a squeeze to him and was pretty stoked, obviously, with the time and the place and the execution more than anything. And yeah, it was magical. I mean, that's what I wanted more than anything, was to be able to experience Boston at its fullest. And I think that was the best way to do it, was to race all the way to the line for a meaningful place against meaningful people. And that was what it was. So, obviously the time is something I'm proud of. The place is something I'm proud of, but also just like the process, like the fact that I was
Yeah.
actually racing for a whole marathon, which is not easy to do.
No. Yeah, it's something, I mean, we touched on when we spoke last week, that you feel you are a racer's marathoner. and your track record, so to speak, over the last 10 marathons hasn't really shown that by your own admission. And this is an unpaced race. It's hilly. It's incredibly deep competition. Guys are gearing up for this way, the way that they don't for any other race, really. And you were able to execute and you were able to race in that truest sense of racing where 400 meters to go, you're kicking to the line against not only a phenomenal athlete, but a former teammate as well. And it must just feel so good for it to come full circle where you've proven to yourself and to the world now, yes, I am not just a time trialer, I'm a racer. And you can get the absolute most out of yourself, place wise, time wise, in that pure racing environment. Second fastest Canadian ever, highest finish by a Canadian at Boston in well over a decade. And yeah, just a phenomenal testament to the work that you've put in, I would say.
Yeah, I'm obviously over the moon. It's been a really surreal last 24 hours. I do want to say, since I know this audience is primarily Canadian, it was so cool to feel like I was, I was racing against the two best American distance runners right now
That was on
going.
all of our minds watching, that is for sure.
And I will tell you, they had great support, but I was definitely, it wasn't like I was on their home turf. It was like it was home A, home B, and there was so many Canadian flags. There was so many people cheering for me because of who I represent, the country I represent, and the post race outpour I received from the Canadian audience, the Canadian running community. It was like the most heart filling thing I felt in the sport. Like I've never felt more backed by the country, and that was special. That was like, that's why you do it, like it was just so cool to, like, it felt like I didn't know it at the time, but I was running for more than myself, more than just me, my family. It was like, I didn't realize that running could have that kind of impact. I just got so many awesome messages after the race, and it was just really cool.
Yeah, you're carrying the weight of a country on your shoulders, whether you realize it or not. And on behalf of all of us in Canada, we just couldn't be more proud of how you flew the flag for us in Boston. Rory, such a pleasure. Congratulations again. Safe travels home. And yeah, thanks so much for giving it your all and giving all of us here in Canada something to cheer for.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and I'm excited that my next marathon is, God willing, if I can stay healthy between now and Ottawa, going to be on home soil, and I can't wait to see the reception we get battling for a win in Ottawa.
Less than 5 weeks to go. We look forward to welcoming you back then. Thanks so
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Kelowna, BC's Emilie Mann has been a factor on the Canadian trail running scene for several years now, with some early success dating back as far as 2019, where she won a national short course title and represented Canada for the first time at the World Mountain Running Championships in Peru. And while she's been appearing on podiums at shorter events like the Squamish 50 miler, this past year has seen a leap in performance with the move to longer courses. This past September at the Run Rabbit Run event in Colorado, Emilie not only completed her first 100-mile trail event, but also dominated a world-class field en route to a decisive victory and a new course record. In the time since, she's continued to bolster her ultra bona fides, most recently with another podium performance just last week at the Desert Rats 100K race in Moab, Utah. Today, we'll hear more about her ascent on the ultra trail scene, as well as what motivates her to keep exploring her capabilities and why curiosity is key when tackling hours on the trail. Emilie, welcome to the Shakeout Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So excited to sit down and chat about all that's been going on the ultra scenes, and particularly in your own career over the last couple of years. But first off, let's start in the desert. You're just a few days removed now from the Desert Rats 100K. How's the body bouncing back?
Surprisingly, pretty darn good. I think I walked a lot of like the last maybe 30 kilometers of that race. So yeah, I feel like the body is recovering very well. I've got a couple of like two big toes that are a little bit angry with me, but otherwise I'm feeling pretty good. I've gone for a couple little shakeout runs and yeah, I'm recovering in Moab right now and kind of making a little vacation out of it. So the body's feeling good. Yeah.
Fantastic. A couple black toenails on the big toes. Small price to pay for a phenomenal
Yeah.
result. You were
Yeah, I
second
might lose
overall
these
in the
guys.
women's race. Uh, 10 hours, 21 minutes, 38 seconds. Take us through the race. The 100K is one that you're still very much learning. These kind of triple digit races, you've dipped your toes in the water and had some great success, but how did this one play out?
Yeah, the 100K is kind of, I think this is my second, yeah, this would be my second 100-kilometer race. I've done like a lot of like the kind of like 50K, 50 mile, one 100 mile that I was able to finish. So it's kind of like an interesting distance where, um, like doing the 100 mile, it's like, okay, this is kind of about like, can I do this? Can I get through it? Is my body capable of running for this long? And then the 100K is like, I know that I am able to do this distance, but kind of how to approach it. Like, is it like a race, or I don't know, kind of finding that balance between taking your time, but then also putting a little bit of speed behind it because it is still a race. So it's been a fun distance to play with so far.
What was the mindset going into Desert Rats this past weekend? This is your second 100K of the year. You ran Black Canyon just a couple of months ago. It didn't go the way that you had wanted. Uh, what was the mindset heading into this one? Was there anything that you were really intentional about wanting to change or try differently?
I think Black Canyons, I definitely had a lot more pressure on myself, and there were a lot of unknowns. Just coming out of like a winter, a Canadian winter season, and also like winters when your body is like dormant, like it's a natural season to relax, to put up the feet, to get cozy, and I think yeah, kind of had a lot of pressure on myself for trying to do well so early off in the season. And then, that race kind of, I had a really difficult time with the net downhill. I'm not a strong downhill runner. I'm used to running up mountains. And then I think just like the heat for Black Canyons too, like that was a difficult one for me. So when I was coming into Desert Rats, I have no idea why I signed up for another desert race. I was like, yeah, let's do that
That went
again.
horribly. Let's do it again.
Let's try again. Um, I think going into Desert Rats, it was, of course, I was kind of thinking like, okay, well, getting into top three, it places you for access to either CCC or UTMB for 2026 in Chamonix. And I was like, that for sure would be the goal. Um, However, I was kind of just excited just to have fun with it. It wasn't going to be net downhill. I knew there was potential for it to still be a really toasty race, which it was. It was like a lot hotter than Black Canyons actually. But I think there was just less pressure on myself. My training leading up to it, I don't think I actually didn't hit 100-kilometer week at all in my training. So a lot like lower volume and in a way just like lower expectations on myself, which just created space for like having more fun. And the night before, I just like had a feeling. I was like, I feel like this could be really fun. Like, I feel like I'm gonna have a good time. It's gonna turn out okay. Things are gonna be good.
Wow. You talk a little bit there about putting less pressure on yourself, and that dives into something that I wanted to chat a little bit about. It really seems in the last couple of years, there's been this huge, I don't even want to call it a resurgence because I think it's reaching a height that it's never reached before, but just the depth of competition amongst Canadian athletes on the ultra scene seems like it's at a real all-time high right now. And as much as maybe you're not putting any pressure on yourself to compete out there, in real terms, is there anything in the back of your mind now, knowing that there's so many other great Canadians? You were one of two Canadians on the podium in the women's race, Geneviève Asselin-Demer as well in the 100K at Desert Rats. Has the depth of Canadian ultra running, or just the amount of talent in it right now, has that been a motivator? Has that been an added pressure at all? What's your take on that?
I don't know if it's been an added pressure. And to be honest, like I think that the the talent and like the caliber of like trail runners in Canada. Like I feel like it's always been there. I think it's just now that the spotlight is kind of on us a little bit more, and now that we're kind of stepping out into like some bigger races and getting our names out there, like it's momentum. I don't think it's pressure, and like even coming down um, to race like desert rats, you know, with everything going on between like the States and Canada and all of the politics, I was kind of like, should I like be doing this? And just seeing that there were like other Canadians that were so stoked to come down and be here, like it was really uplifting, and like it it felt like more of like a team thing rather than any kind of added pressure. Like it was like, yeah, very supportive.
In races that long, are you going in hoping to work together with specific people? Obviously, you're out on trail for hours and hours and hours, and it seems like if there is an opportunity to trade off leads, to work together for portions of the race, it only stands to benefit you with the overall finish and placing. Is there any particular strategy amongst Canadians going down to these races internationally that you've been a part of or witnessed?
Mm, I'm not really sure. I don't think that there's any like strategy or pre-race like conversation of like let's work together. I think it really is just that like energy of like, you know, we're all from the same place, and like I don't know, it kind of feels like we all like have something to prove, and we're like really proud to be here, and we're really proud to be like competing together. I wouldn't say that we necessarily are like, okay, like a 20K, you're going to take the lead and then I'll, you know, stream behind you. Like it's definitely nothing quite detailed like that. It's more so just like a feeling.
Yeah, that common history, that commonality of coming from the same place. You talk about having some pride and being Canadian and competing together on this world stage. You've been on the scene now for a long time. You won a national title as far back as 2019, but just in the last couple of years, you've made the move, like you mentioned. This was only your second 100K. You've made the move up in distance. And for me, as a track guy, the distances you
Mm-hmm.
were already running were crazy. A Squamish title in the 50 miler 2 years ago, that's unbelievable to me. But getting up into those 100K, 100-mile races, it seems like the longer you've gone, the better and the more competitive you've been. Is there anything that you attribute specifically to that success over these last couple of years that where you've really just taken off at these ultra long distances?
Mm, I think a big part of it is just it's like curiosity, and it's that like what if, and that wondering like, am I possible, like is it possible for myself to like go that far? Can, you know, is my body up to it? Like what's gonna happen in my mind? And I especially remember like my my 100 miler just being like, I literally have no idea what's gonna happen after 120 kilometers. Like maybe my heart just stops beating. Like
Mine
maybe my
would.
legs just say, maybe my legs just say like, no thanks. Like we're done. So it's really that like element of the unknown and being like, okay, like what else? What next? Like what's it going to feel like? What can I accomplish? So yeah, it's interesting. And then when you kind of like get to that distance, it's like, okay, like I mean, obviously, like it's an awesome feeling, but it's like, okay, well, what can I do with that now? Like, is there room for improvement on speed? Like, what were the hiccups with like fueling or hydration, or yeah, like what can I polish in these areas to like make my next race like even more fun and even more strong?
I can only imagine when you're out there for 20 hours in the case of Run Rabbit Run that even, I mean, for those of our listeners who don't know, it was Emilie's debut at the distance, 100 miles, 160 kilometers for those metric listeners. And not only did she complete, not only did she win the women's race, but she also set a course record. Um, And yet you talk about the curiosity element of, oh, what can I do differently? How can I improve upon that? For most people, I mean, a course record and the win is already, that's kind of an A plus day. And yet you talk about how much room there is for improvement. Um, I'd love to take some time to go through that race because it was your first time completing the distance. Like you said, after 120K, you're venturing into the unknown. What was that race like?
Yeah, like a lot of unknowns. Um, it started off, like probably some of the best parts of it were like the first like 30-ish K. And I just ran with this pack of girls who I was like, I can't believe I'm running with these girls. Like I follow them on Instagram. Like this is like really cool. And yeah, kind of as we like began to space out, like every interaction, like every time that I would kind of like slowly work my way up, um, like each like passing each gal, like they were just like so like stoked at heart for you, and it was not all like there wasn't even a flicker of like, oh man, like so and so's catching up on me. Like they were just like genuinely so excited for you, and I think that's what I also love about that distance is like it's such a personal freaking journey that you go through, and like those moments of connection and conversation with people, those are kind of like the really memorable like takeaways um, from being out there for so long. In terms of like the alone time, there was like a decent amount of alone time. And I was like, man, like, what am I gonna think about? Like, is it gonna get a little boring out there? Like, I'm running literally all through the night. Like, that
Yeah,
race,
20
it's
plus
different.
hours.
It starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which is so weird. So you have to run all through the evening. And I don't think I ran, the only time in my training when I ran through the night was like 2 nights before when I got a new like waist lamp and I was like, I should probably try this out. So I was kind of like, okay, how's it gonna feel out like in the woods alone? And it was like surprisingly really peaceful. And as far as mindset, like it sounds dumb, but like you get a little dumb out there and
Yeah,
you
you
have to
have to.
also like you get a little dumb. Yeah, and you have to like really think about like taking care of yourself. So I would be like, okay, like I have like I need to take my gel at like this time. I need to take my salt pill at this time. Like when was the last time I took a like a ginger pill for nausea? When was the last time I took like a Tylenol? So there's like things you kind of need to keep track of. And like I also really challenged myself in that race because I accidentally grabbed a 160 calorie Morton gel and then a 100 calorie Morton gel. So I had the combo, and then I had to do like time math when you're already real dumb on the course. So it was a little, yeah, I was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to get bored. I'm so busy doing all this simple math.
Yeah, the simple addition isn't so simple when you're 90 plus K into a race, 90 plus miles for that matter, into a
I might
race.
be the only one that has like
I
has
think
so
you
much
would, I
going on
think
in their mind
there,
when they're
uh,
running
uh,
100 miles.
oh my gosh, I don't think there's a single person for whom that sort of thing doesn't become tough when you're out there for that
Meanwhile, people
long.
are like creating like all of these like really inspiring like inventions and stories in their mind, and I'm like, math, simple
Yeah.
math.
How many calories did I take in this hour? I have another 60 minutes to work it out before I need to figure out the
People are like
next hour of
writing
fueling.
books.
Oh my gosh, that wouldn't be me. You talk about kind of the shared journey of those ultra long 100-mile races and that everybody is really out there supporting one another. I would imagine there is just such a understanding amongst the competitors that, hey, what I'm doing is really tough. So if you're out here doing
Yeah.
it, like that's equally tough. Do you think that that's something that transcends ultra running, that is kind of a core part of the discipline of the community? Again, my background is in the track where it's very much kind of a, I don't want to say backstabbing, but an every man for themselves approach to
Mm.
competition. Um, do you want to touch a bit on what makes the ultra community so special?
Oh, there's so much. I would definitely say that though is like when you're running those super long distances, and I mean, I guess even like the 50K distance too, like, when you see someone and you kind of like pass them by, they're I don't know, you kind of like feel what they're going through. You're like, man, like you're going through it right now. And like when you hear that like someone dropped or like somebody missed a flag and went the wrong way, like I don't know, I feel like you become like such an empath in the trail running community. Like yeah, you really kind of like understand that like that win or that loss. Like um I don't know, in a way, like I know it's such a competitive sport, but I think you also like really like celebrate people's wins, and you really like feel people's like losses or like the hardships that they go through like with their different races too. I definitely think that that's a huge part of like what makes the community so strong is we know how much like time and training and like passion like goes into these races, and yeah, it's something you really kind of bond over for sure.
You talk about the training piece. Nobody can run a 100-mile race on a whim. Like, just to put yourself out on the starting line is months of preparation. And if it doesn't go your way, if you're 90K into a race, it's not like you can just pull the plug and try again the next weekend. Like, these races only come around every so often. They're so tough on the body, I would imagine, that you just to put yourself out there is a really brave move, because you're going all in of, okay, for the next 20 hours, I'm going to be locked in on this sort of thing. I would love to dive a little bit now into that training piece. What goes into preparing, not just physically for a race like this, but we've already talked a little bit about the emotional journey that you go on. And
Hmm.
I'd just love to, yeah, hear your thoughts on how you prepped for Desert Rats this past weekend, for Run Rabbit Run this past fall. Take us through kind of a typical training block leading into one of these ultras, particularly like the
Yeah.
100 and the 100Ks and the 100 milers, because it's not like you can just
um
go out and run 100K in practice.
no, no. So I do have a coach, Dave Stevens. He's located in Nelson, and he's awesome. He's actually won Run Rabbit like two-ish times now, I want to say. Incredible athlete, and yeah, he's provided some like really good structure for my training. I would say that I probably always do like 5 to 10K or more, less than like what is prescribed. Um, I feel that I always do a little bit better on just like lower volume. Um, but yeah, for Run Rabbit, I definitely was having like kind of towards like the almost my peak week. I was around, I'd be like over 100 to 120 kilometers per week, like a lot of mileage. And it's not like I think of like, not that I've really trained for a marathon before, but when you think of like that mileage, like you're not just running flat road, like you're
You're not on
running
rail
technical
trails the whole
trail.
time.
And I'd also be given like a lot of vert goals too. So those are like big days. Those are big hours, big days. Um, I'd say like the best part of training for Run Rabbit is my peak week. My coach, he was actually like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" But I really wanted to do this race that I'd done a couple times before. It's called Trans Rockies, 6-day stage race in Colorado, and it is just such a blast. And I feel like if you were like a paid professional runner, I was like, I get why they can do so freaking well, because you wake up in the morning, you go and you run, I don't know, 30 to 40 kilometers, and then the rest of the day, you just chill and you have the best time. You make some amazing friendships, and you just like focus on eating and recovering at the end of every day. And like, I think that that was such a huge part of like why I was able to complete Run Rabbit and like do so well is I just had like such a freaking fun week of crazy high volume that I'm like not used to myself. But it just like was so simple and so fun. And also um you're pushing yourself during it. Like we were like running some pretty fast, like 30 to 40 kilometer days. It was still considered a race. But I think it was 4 weeks out from Run Rabbit, and usually your peak week would be like a little bit closer to your race day. Um, but I think just like having the speed and the volume, it was nice to have that a little bit further out from like my actual race. Yeah, so if you're having big training weeks, I would like suggest to bring some friends along and have some beers after, and yeah, just have like a good time with it, and maybe even like take a couple days off of work and yeah, treat it as like a little vacation, like have fun with it.
I hope that we would touch on Trans Rockies because, being the well prepared host that I am, I did lurk your Strava as I do for
Oh
all of
yeah.
our guests, and
Yeah.
I saw that massive spike about a month before Run Rabbit,
It's
and
like the
thought,
only one.
yeah, it's wow, that is. I mean, it's about 4 hours of running a day. It looks like 6 days or 7 days straight of competition,
Yeah.
and it's great to hear you validate what I was thinking. Was like, that seems like if you could make it through that week and recover afterwards, I mean, you're good to go. Suddenly, 100-mile race, no big deal. Just a one day and you're done. And it seems like you really put paid to that. And again, I love that you touch on the community aspect of it. That race week, and it was an entire week of racing. You're just surrounded by other people doing the same thing. You're out there, and there's something really special about not just the being out there competing together, I think, but like you say, the having a beer afterwards, the getting to relax and bask in that really hard thing that you've done, not just for one
Yeah.
day, but for an entire week. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Stage racing is so cool like that. Like, like at the end of any other race, and like I'm sure even for track, like you go and you do your thing and you like say congratulations, you stick around for awards like maybe a couple hours later, and then like everybody leaves
yeah.
afterwards.
See ya.
And there's yeah, and with stage races, it's like you get to celebrate together so much longer, and then you gotta like wake up the next morning and be like, how the hell am I gonna do yet another day? Never mind, like 5 more days, and off you guys all go together. Like it's a neat experience, and like I feel like that's such a I don't know, it's such a good way to do your like big build week, is like to do it with your community, to do it with your people.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
combining a race, a
Yeah.
training camp, a vacation all into one thing, and you just get to ride that post-race high from one day to the next day for days on days, which, I mean, that sounds like the dream to me. I'd love to talk
Yeah.
a little bit. We've talked about kind of the peak mileage. Another piece that I think is fascinating to so many of our listeners and to me as well, is the fueling piece. When you're out there for almost an entire calendar day, as is the case for a 100-miler or even 10 plus hours, what are you taking in? How are you preparing in advance fuel wise? What are you doing on course? What are your go-tos? How are you keeping it interesting? How are you getting the food down when you're out there pushing for so many hours?
Um, I feel like other people are so much dialed into their nutrition and like the science of it. I remember having I think I was doing like a pre-race interview for Run Rabbit, and Nico Lightbody was beside me because we were teammates for it, and I didn't know much about him like prior to doing this race. And we were asked about our nutrition plan. I was like, I'm gonna take a gel like maybe every like 20 to 30 minutes and like see how I feel. And he went way over the top, like scientific about what he was taking in, when he was taking it in. And I was
Carb
like,
ratio,
I think this
caffeine.
guy's an engineer. Yeah, so I think a lot of people are like a lot more dialed and prepared around that. Um, but yeah, I kind of have like I have an idea of like, okay, I'm gonna try and have a gel every like 20 to 30 minutes. If I have any lows, I'm gonna take 2 gels back to back. If I get nauseous at all, um, I'll take it's like a daytime ginger kind of pill to like subside any nausea that I have. I'm really not too scientific about it. I have this like weird thing where I like to have one flask of water, and then my other flask is like 1/3 electrolyte, 2/3 water. I don't know why, but like
It's
if
clearly
ain't
working.
broke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mostly do like Morton because I like that it's just kind of like a more neutral taste. And then I'll toss in like a few goos or precision just to like keep things fun. And then of course like if I stop at an aid station and there's like you start craving some weird things when you're out there. Yeah, especially like late at night and your like metabolism's so bizarre.
Yeah, your body has
Um,
no idea. Like, why are we still up racing?
yeah,
It's 3 in the morning.
yeah. I remember one time racing Squamish and they were serving miso soup and it was like the best thing in the
Lots of
world.
electrolytes.
Yeah, we just like went from aid station to aid station and drank miso soup and I was like, this is the best. I love miso soup. Um, but yeah, I think there's like usually like noodles and sometimes there's pierogies, like whatever kind of calls to me at the aid stations, I'll like dabble in. But other than that, I feel like I keep things like pretty simple and consistent-ish. Um, yeah, I definitely don't like stick to any like hard rules because I think like if you do stick to hard rules and then something goes wrong, it's like, do you actually can you, I don't know, are you so stuck to that way of like fueling your body that you can like trust your intuition to like try something else when what your always plan isn't working? So I think a little bit of flexibility is probably important when you're running that like unknown distance.
When you're out there for that long, nothing is going to go perfectly to plan, I imagine.
No,
You talk
no.
about the aid stations, and I want to talk about the people that you've had crewing for you at these races and what role that they play. Could you just maybe run us through who those key people have been for you and what the role of the race crew has been these last couple really long races? Because it seems every time I
Yeah.
see a successful podium performance on the ultra scene, the first credit, and maybe you guys are all just a lot more humble than other athletes, but the first credit seems to always go to the amazing crew that is
To the
supporting athletes like
crew.
you. So tell us
Absolutely.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah, my partner Tim, he is probably like the most important crew member. He solo helped me through through Red Rabbit. We've had some rough crew times. I left one of the aid stations one time actually wearing two different shoes. Whoops. But yeah, we're always learning. But no, he's always been so supportive and like even this last race, like Desert Rats at 50K, I was like, frick, like I feel awful. This heat's like really getting to me and rather than kind of being like, oh, well, like, don't worry, honey, if it's hard, you can quit. It was anything but that. It was just like very kind and encouraging and like reminding me to like trust myself and that I can do it. Um, for Black Canyons, I had Elsa McDonald. She's a phenomenal Canadian trail runner. I don't even know if you've had her on this podcast
All
yet,
right, she'll
but
have to be
you,
our next guest.
oh my gosh, you
Elsa,
have to.
consider
Yeah.
this your invitation.
Yeah. She actually paced me for Black Canyons and I'd never run with a pacer before and it was like freaking magic having somebody there with you, even just like as you're passing people. Um, they say like good job for you, which is like silly, but it I don't know, it takes some like energy to like give a
Totally.
little bit of emotion like a bunch
Yeah.
of times on the trail. So um yeah, that was really awesome too. And yeah, your crew really gets to know you and what you need and how to talk to you. And yeah, I think this last one too, like Tim, he kind of let some of my friends know that I was like having a rough go out there and I had my headphones in. So um he was like, give her a text and like let her know that she's like still moving, she's still doing okay. And yeah,
He knows
that
which
went a
levers
long
to
way for
pull to
sure.
get the most out of you.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're again, I keep coming back to just how long you're out there and how much can go wrong or right in that time. And as a crew member, you're going to see every different emotion over the course of a race that long, I imagine, and
Oh
knowing how
yeah.
to handle each of those emotions and keep you on track. Like you said, when it's that long, you're going to get dumb out there and you need somebody else to maybe almost
Be your
focus you into
brain.
like, yeah, this is the thought that you're going to have. This is
Yeah.
something that you can fixate on. Don't fixate on this. Um,
Yeah.
that said, and you touched on this a little bit already, at the end of the day, you're still out there doing the thing yourself. And there are going to be moments where you're totally all alone. You talk about being out in the middle of the night in the woods. You're deep into this massive race. What do you do to prepare for that mentally? And what do you do in those really tough moments to keep yourself moving forward?
Um, it's definitely like a lot of positive self chat. Um, even if I like, in my mind I say like, oh no, like this hurts, or like, oh no, what if this gets worse, or I'm really feeling like this way right now. It's like I kind of just like talk to myself a little bit. I'm like, remember, like, you know, everyone is also having these lows. Like, this is part of it. Like, we didn't expect to like get to like kilometer 130 and it be easy. Like, this is like where the work happens. This is what the long hours were about. Like, you've got this, you've got this. And it's a lot of just like reminding yourself that you're so capable, even if in the moment your brain is tired. I also tell myself that too. Like, your brain is sleepy. When you're sleepy, you get like a little bit negative. So this is like, this is a low, and maybe 2 to 5 minutes later, you're gonna feel a high, and it's gonna feel good. Yeah.
Cool. What is
Yeah.
the going through that roller coaster physically, emotionally, mentally? What's the recovery like? You're now a couple of days removed from a 100K race. Is there a come down after finishing, or is it just you finish this huge thing, so you're riding a high for weeks afterwards? Uh, Take us through what you've been
Um,
going through since such a great result this past weekend.
yeah, I know there's like the post-race blues. I feel like I don't get that too much. Like I'm pretty lucky where I do look forward to the rest. Um, or you just like go and sign up for something else. And then that kind of like is like, okay, well, like I gotta rest really well because I want to like now
On to
train
the
for
next
this, or
thing.
this is next. Yeah, so like that can be like a really good time for planning. Is like the recovery time is like, okay, well, like, that went this way, like what do we want to do next time? Um, but yeah, I practice and teach a lot of yoga, and like my recovery time, I love just diving into that, like getting back on my mat, like exercising something more than like my legs. Yeah, just like diving into like different outlets, and like it's a time where I love to like really connect more with friends and calling family. Like it's just like a very like natural time to like fill with other like huge important parts of your life.
Yeah, totally.
Not that it should be done just during
No,
recovery,
no,
but
definitely not.
yeah.
But you've,
Yeah.
I mean, there is a necessary focusing that comes for any sort of competition. And once that cup is filled with the race, especially when it goes well, in your case, these last couple times, uh, you have a little bit of bandwidth freed up to devote to other areas of your life. And I think
Yeah.
it just makes you come back all the hungrier for competition when you feel like all those other areas have been, I don't want to say that they're boxes to tick, but certainly those cups need filling as well. You
Mhm.
talk about how it's a great time to look ahead to the future and sign up for more races, and that's a perfect segue into my next question for you, which is, what's the rest of the year look like? It's still only mid-April, and I mean, you had a full calendar of racing in 2024. Is that the plan again this year? Are there certain races on the calendar already? Or are you playing it by year a bit? What can we look forward to in the
Yeah.
months ahead?
It's wild, like how early you have to plan your year. I'm such a last minute person and like go by feel, but you can't really do that anymore because these races all fill up so fast. Um, yeah, I have a few things planned. I might dive into a little local race. It's like the Dirty Feet Cal Park race. It's really
Yeah.
fun and
It's where
like
you won your
they
first national championship, am I right?
yeah. I think I'll just do the 25K because it's just around the corner. I haven't signed up yet. Hopefully there's still a little space, but I have some
Surely
friends
they'll
doing
make
it,
room.
so I I have some friends going, so hopefully they'll there'll be space. Um, and then I have Quebec Mega Trail,
Okay.
135. That's I guess a new distance for them. I've never done any of the QMT races. But I'm excited. Like it's not gonna be hot. It's gonna be definitely like more of my kind of terrain that I love to run, like a lot more vert, a lot more climbing. Yeah, it's gonna be cooler. It's gonna it's gonna be really fun. I'm excited for that one. Um, I think my mom's gonna come out and support me, and she's a French immersion teacher, so she's got
Oh,
me
perfect.
covered
You've got it
with all
nailed.
the français. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to bring her along. That'll be fun. It's also the last year for Trans Rockies, so I'm hoping, I think I do have enough vacation time to sneak out there and just do one last hurrah. It's so fun. I'm really sad they're not continuing it, but yeah, it's been a huge part of my love for trail running, and any time that I have kind of had like a low with my running and inspiration, like man, that
Fills
that
you
race
back
just
up.
like fills my cup absolutely. And then kind of last on my radar is Ultra Trail Cape Town, the 100-kilometer distance. Again, hoping that I have enough vacation time, or like maybe
Yeah,
I can take
not
a
an easy thing
little
to get to South
on the little
Africa.
yeah, or maybe I can take like a little unpaid leave or something to make that one happen. But that's been like a bucket list race for me, and yeah, again, lots of vert, and it just looks like such a gorgeous place to visit. So that would be like really cool if we can make that happen.
Fantastic. A full slate of
Yeah.
races coming up. You're going to be a busy
Yeah.
person. Um,
Yeah.
Emilie, thank you so much for taking the time to catch up with us. We're so excited to follow along with what's going to be a really exciting year on the trails for you. And yeah, we just wish you all the best of luck with all of the races coming up, from the local 25K in your home in the Okanagan to some of these massive international fields. We know you're just going to fly the flag so well for us all, and excited to
Aw.
cheer you on. So thanks for taking the time, and very best of luck to you.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been our pleasure. Have a great rest of your vacation in Moab.
Thank you. I definitely will.
That's it for this week's episode of the Shakeout Podcast. Another huge thanks to Emilie for joining us and sharing insight into what it takes to rise in the ultra world. You can follow along with her season by following Emilie Mann on Strava and on Instagram at Emilie Sarah. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Shakeout Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please consider leaving us a review. It helps us continue to grow and keep producing episodes that you, our listener, will love. As always, I'm your host, John Gay, saying thanks again, and we'll see you next time for your weekly Shakeout.